It's kind of raining a lot here in Buenos Aires, where most of us are based. I don't know, Aki, is it raining there in Bahia Blanca?
Oh, it's definitely raining.
Definitely raining. Yeah, I was sharing rocks the size of an egg. There are some pictures showing that. And Diego is caught in the middle of the rain, so I think he is in
I,
a
I,
coffee shop
yes, waiting for the rain to stop a little bit.
waiting for the rain, completely wet. Okay. Um, okay. Uh, Let me check Twitter. Okay, I think we can start. And well, thank you for coming in this rainy day. That is special for sleeping and watching a movie. But we are programmers, so if it rains, it's to program. So to start, maybe we can start with we have some news about yesterday's issue with the Sonic Stack and Mother Explorer. Maybe Nacho, Ignacio, Bono, Esteban. Any of you can want to talk about that?
I can explain a little bit, and then maybe Aki or Bono can complete the description, or Esteban. There's been a couple of issues related to building Starknet Stack. After some investigation, we found out that it's mainly related to some dependency issues. Essentially, the newer versions of Rust, like the newer versions of the nightly release of Rust, is incompatible with a couple of features that we were using and that the create this error was using as well. Um, so yeah, we investigated that mostly yesterday, and today the Cairo native team released or merged the fix for that, and I can confirm that Starnet Stack now builds correctly. So thanks for that. There's also been another small issue which was reported by a Starnet Stack user related to the Explorer not being able to connect to the consensus nodes. I talked to the user through the GitHub issue that they raised. He or she essentially told me that the issue doesn't happen after pruning all the Docker images and building again. I think it was a race condition where the Explorer was essentially starting before the consensus formed a block. And when that happens, the Explorer asks for the first node to warm the cache, the block cache. But yeah, the consensus nodes didn't have that block, so essentially it fails. So after that, we also derived another work item for the Explorer guys to essentially make it retry that first cache warming.
Yeah,
So yeah, we're working on that currently.
yeah. I'll add that as an issue on the Mother Explorer after the meeting. I've been in meetings during the morning, but after
Yep.
this, I will do that.
Sounds good.
Well, great. And thanks, Aki, for the fix also. Um, Maybe Aki, you want to continue? Esteban, something to add there? Sorry.
No. I think that's for the Stanek inclusion in Stanek Stack. I'm working on another the other leg of the problem. I don't have much to add. I'm currently building my environment to get my hands dirty with some Stanek Rust code.
Okay, great. Now, Aki, yeah. Sorry, the interruption.
Yesterday's issue turned out to be quite minor. In the end, the fix was like a one-line delete. To summarize, it was basically there was an unstable feature that was removed from Nightly, and one of our dependencies and our code included that feature. So it was just a matter of updating the dependency and removing the feature from our code. So the fix was easy, but it was an interesting issue anyways, because it brings to mind the fact, of what does your code depend on to work, and whether those dependencies are deterministic or not, right? It can't be that just because the date rolled over and there was a new build of a separate thing, your build fails. So one thing that comes off of that is that despite requiring nightly, because most of our dependencies require nightly, I am, as an engineer, against using nightly as the nightly channel of the Rust compiler, but we're kind of forced into that because most of our dependencies require that. But at the very least, we could say, okay, let's pin a version of nightly, across all our projects, and then say on specific dates decide whether we want to upgrade to a newer nightly, or whenever we have some requirement that, hey, we need the newer version. And when we do that, we can take the time to see if all the different projects, components, etc. Will work or not. And the only point of doing that is you have to do it anyway. It just it turns into a matter of whether it's you choose the battlefield, the temporal battlefield, or not. So I think that's something that we should pay attention to. The same way we usually pin our code dependencies to a specific version or a specific minor version, we should probably do the same whenever we're using nightly. I think that's the lesson from yesterday. I was having a talk with a junior engineer this early morning, and they had a flaky test. It was a separate situation, but kind of similar. A test that was getting a block from the RPC gateway, and then comparing it to something they built, and they were getting the block 2 times, not really knowing about it. And it turned out that they had a failure, and when we debugged it, it was because they just happened to run the test in the specific instance in time in which the first call to RPC got the previous block, and the next call got the next block, and they had a 1 block differential, and the test failed. And I was like, well, your test is flaky. It's not deterministic because it depends on external output. You just happen to run it, and in CI it runs fine, and in her local it didn't, and then she ran it again, and it worked. And so it's like, you really have to take into account what goes into your code working or not, and what assumptions you have built in.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right in all the things you mentioned. And about the first part that we were talking about dependencies on the project, let's discuss about that a little more. I think there are quite a few things we can do easily, and to be more deterministic, as you mentioned, as you said.
It's hard to get you
Because we
100%.
found and we found this, like, we started digging a little bit regarding the bug, the issue that Ignacio told us, and we found, like, okay, we couldn't reproduce the issue, but we found, like, lots of things that were unstable by causality. So
yeah, it's a miracle that anything works at all.
no,
That's what I always say.
no, it's not a miracle. We have lots of things to do, and we need to improve many things in DevOps. That I think that we know how to address that. We need, like,
no, I mean like in the world in general.
In the world in general. Okay.
we know how to mitigate the risk, but it's
it's just a matter of having some time and priority to do that. I think that
Exactly.
at the stage that the project is going to emerge inside Sonic and Rust. It's already part of Sonic Stack. Okay, I think this is a good moment, a good time to address this kind of regarding the stability and robustness of the
precisely.
builds and of the project in general. So I think that we need to prioritize that for the next coming days, and it won't be hard. We know how to do that, and we just need to
Tightening the screws.
discuss a little bit, and yeah, I think time is good. So
yeah.
Okay.
For the second half of my update would be that yesterday's meeting with also the Starknet team and the Starknet stack and the Starknet and Rust team. We really need, like, Pokemon names. I'm getting onto Abdel's train now with this. We should probably just choose, I don't know, dwarf names or Pokemon or whatever you guys want. I don't care, but let's do. I was remembering your talk about identity. But we had a talk with those two teams, and we kind of have like an action plan now for integrating the Cairo native into Starknet and Rust. It'll happen on both sides of that fence, so that they'll start working on some things, and we're gonna start at first improving a bit the interface that we have for passing and returning values from an external context into the compiled Cairo native program. Currently, as it is, we had like a stopgap solution in which you take whatever values you want to get in and get out, and you serialize them into JSON, and then on the other side they're turned back into felts and so on. And the reason was that because we needed a common interface between, I don't know, like Rust representation and then the native representation internally that's generated by MLAR. And since that API is hard to pin down because it changes for every single program that you have. Like, for example, a program could take no inputs. It could take a felt, two felts, variable felts, an array of felts, a tuple of felts, and so on. And the same with the output value. So if you want a sufficiently general API, you need something that's structured but variable, right? And but regardless, that's something that the client side should not have to worry about how to serialize and deserialize. So we're going to improve that API. That'll be the first step. And once we get that done, then we're going to have to work a little bit on actually implementing the existing interface. There's a trait for specifying how something that calls a Cairo native program will provide it access to its state, right? It's called a Starknet syscall runner. So we have an implementation that kind of works as an example, but we want to have like a production, like something closer to production that could be used within Starknet and Rust as it is today. So that's the next step.
Okay, great news. I think that we have a good roadmap over there. So, congrats. Tons of work. I think that's good. Yeah, and we need names for sure. We need to talk about naming, but we should discuss that later with comms. Okay, maybe Bono, do you have any update for today?
Yes, I think yesterday can be summarized to meetings and debugging. Aside from the meetings that Esteban and Aki mentioned, yes, I helped a bit to debug the Starknet stack issue, and then also we were debugging with the Starknet in Rust team some issues in a transaction that makes a few writes to see if we are still having issues on that front. And
about the fees, the one of the fees,
yes,
we're having less rights.
Okay. Yes, and I made some progress on implementing RPC state reader that only depends on the Starknet API package that both Starknet in Rust and Blockifier uses. So we can have an RPC state reader that can be used from both libraries. I'm working on that, and yeah, I hope to have it soon in order to run test step by step and side by side to check the output of every part of the fee estimation flow.
Okay, that can be useful also for Pathfinder or not?
For Pathfinder, I think no.
No. Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, let's continue with that feature. I think it has like many branches. So, but I think all the progress we're doing there is quite useful. So we should continue on that. Okay, Peter, how things are going on the VM?
Nice. We are having some progress. Well, regarding the execution of Cairo 1 programs, uh, we have to, well, yesterday we could execute a simple program, a Cairo 1 program, and output the memory and the trace. We still need to make some error handlings and simplify a little bit the code. I think today will be ready. But at first, the first step, the next step will be to check the how to execute it with proof mode. That we have to make a little bit of research to make that. But well, we'll finish that first part today. And well, secondly, we were implementing the Cairo Pi. Well, I check. Well, we finished like a first implementation of that. The get Cairo Pi function. The pull request is ready. We need to review it a little bit and check if we need to add some more APIs or something like that. But at first, at least a first implementation is ready. So we're working with that.
Okay, after testing that a little bit, I think we should like try to make a demo with I don't know if with Ben or with Abdel or someone that
Yes,
is
for
going to
sure.
be user of that feature.
Yes, it will be good. So we know that they can use it.
And maybe next week.
Well,
Let's test it a little bit.
yes, yes, it's just today we finished the first pull request. So we have to check it. And one, aside from that, we're still working on the Lambda works felt standardization. And also the fuzzing team found some new bugs that we have to check it. So we'll follow that path.
Okay, great. VM in Go. Yesterday, well, Fede posted a video on Twitter, so we have the demo of the factorial and Fibonacci working. So we're quite excited over there. And well, we need to continue working on that next week. Javi will be back. I think Javi will be joining these calls. So we have okay. I'm quite excited on what's coming on that side also. Well, to maybe next time to Diego. Are you there? Are you able to speak? Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps we have some music also, but well, we are mostly dealing with all the applications from the Lambda Sparkling Water Bootcamp. We have like 70 applications and going up. We are also working on all the possible issues and learning resources. We want to have everything as organized as we can. We are also working on improving the documentation on the Starknet Improver, and we will be releasing on Friday a blog post on how you can code the Fry protocol on your own practically from scratch. Well, you have to have like finite fields and Merkle trees, but it's like how it works and everything so that anyone can understand how the prover works.
Okay, great. Then, well, if we have something more like shareable about numbers of people or something like that on Twitter, on the Telegram channels.
I just have to get to the office first.
If you can,
Let's hope
in a
the
boat,
rain subsides.
you need a kayak.
Well, it happened before in Buenos Aires.
Okay. Well, to end the meeting, I want to mention a little bit what happened yesterday. Yesterday we started the Hacker House, the Lambda class Hacker House related to Starknet. So we have like the first meeting. It was a talk about Starknet, the Starknet 101 that we gave in a co-working space. And today it's like a hacking day, so everyone is. We don't have any workshop or talk about hacking, and we have some. Arshay is there, Fran is there, so they will be helping to introduce people into Cairo and into whatever those people want regarding Starnet. And then for tomorrow, we're planning to have like 4 talks in Spanish, I think. One about Starnet Stack, one about the VM, one about the Starnet Rust, and one about the prover. So Aki, nothing against you, but I think that like the talks are like introductory. Introductory is, I don't know if it is right to say that, are introductory. So I think the Cairo native is quite dark for an introductory talk. So
I'll go back to my low-level cave.
yeah, go back to your low level. Go back to the basement, please. Okay. And well, we have that tomorrow, and then an asado. So I think we will meet in person tomorrow. So thanks everyone. Someone wants to add something else? Okay. Thank you. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
See you.